कहाँ मोरा स्वरूप रूपा, कहाँ सनातन। कहाँ मोरा स्वरूप रूपा, कहाँ सनातन। कहाँ दास रघुनाथ पतित पावन। कहाँ मोरा भट जुगा, कहाँ कबीरा। कहाँ मोरा भट जुगा, कहाँ कविराज। एका काले कोठा गेला गोरा नटराज। एका काले कोठा गेला गोरा नटराज। पाषाणे कुतिबो मठ, अनाले पाशिबो। गौरंगा गुनेरा निधि, कोथा गेले पाबो। कोथा मेरा निधि, कोथा गेले पाबो। गौरंगा गुनेरा शेषाबा संगीरा संगे, जे कुलो व्यास। se saba sangira sange je koi no bila se sanga na paaye kane narota madasa se sanga na paya kane narota madasa jenilo pe madhana karuna prachur hai no prabhu kota gela acharya thakur Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Thank you to Sharmishta Mataji for leading the wonderful bhajan. Now we will have His Grace Radha Krishna Prabhu give the class.
One more time the name. I did not hear it.
We'll have Radha Krishna Prabhu give the class.
Funny guy. He is. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maybe all can come closer. Yeah, there's so many people here, so come closer. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. The holy disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It may seem that it is unusual, right, to say that we are celebrating a day in which we have lost the physical association of someone like our spiritual master. It seems very unusual. But as we were singing in the prayer by Narottam Das Thakur, his mood is one of weeping, lamenting, right? He says he wants to smash his head against the rock, the ground, the wall, the stone, in anguish on the account of separation from his spiritual master and the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. So he's feeling so much separation. Yeah, it is causing him too much grief, and yeah, we also feel grief. So how then can we say we are celebrating? Yet it is the instruction of our acharyas, our great teachers who have instructed all of us that we should celebrate both the appearance as well as the disappearance day. It's supposed to celebrate it as a festival day. That's the rule, or something like that, yeah. So when Srila Prabhupada was preparing to depart, he gave some instructions. Many of this what I'm going to say is from many senior Vaishnavas in our movement who have recollected what they have encountered. Oh, we have light. There was some power trip, so they were trying to fix it. And Srila Prabhupada, before he departed, he gave some instructions that some of the money should be given to the 7 principal temples in Vrindavan. And his reasoning was so that after he departed, the temples should celebrate the Utsava of his departure. So therefore we have on the order of Srila Prabhupada that there should be a celebration, there should be a feasting. And he wanted all the temples to feed all the Vaishnavas also. So therefore we know this is a proper thing to do. So Prabhupada gave a hint about this during the time of even his final pastime. So he even told his disciples, do not lament, do not lament. There's nothing to lament. So a Vaishnava, like the status of Srila Prabhupada, he comes once in a while into this world. And they come by the arrangement of Lord Sri Krishna. It's not by chance. And they also leave this world by the arrangement of Sri Krishna. So they are on a different category altogether. So therefore, the question is, why should we lament that which is arranged by Krishna, the Supreme Lord? So it's a very interesting way to look at it. And we lament, generally speaking, most of us we lament out of ignorance, right? We lament out of ignorance. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna instructs Arjuna, he says, the wise man do not lament for that which is living nor dead. Yeah. So a wise man never laments for the living nor death. In other words, they do not lament the changing condition of the material body. Yeah. So the body is born to die. Seems very terrible to think like that, but that's a reality. If there's one sure goal that is this body has, is death. The goal of the body is to die. It's so morbid, right, when we think like that. Therefore, to grieve, the fact that what is inevitable, from the moment of birth, death is inevitable. Right? So we have to be very clear. And to grieve is a sign of ignorance, because we know it's going to happen. So, but yet we see in this world, right, generally, totally, that everyone is lamenting because they are in ignorance. And the reason is they do not know the existence of the soul. And of course Krishna, yeah. They cannot understand it. It's very difficult for most people. And if you do not understand about the soul properly, then certainly you don't understand what death is all about. Yeah. And then what happens after death. So we won't know. And most persons cry, or most people will cry and lament because they think that death finishes everything off. Finished. Ta-da! That's the end. Yeah. As far as they're concerned, when the bodily function stops, the person ends his life or existence. That's it, right? This is the view of most materialists in this existence. They say, what is the person inside? What is the being? Who is the being? It is simply a series of electrical charges, chemical reactions, of physical responses, like that. And so you'll find a lot of the time people have a way of explaining life, or what is life, right? It's interesting, fascinating sometimes. Sometimes they'll say it's based on random movements at the atomic level, right? They will say that, and that's what it is. And so life ends or life symptoms stops once existence ends. Yeah. So there's no real meaning to such existence for such persons. Huh? No such thing. They don't believe in it. For them it's just interaction of chemicals or electricals or electrons or particles or atoms going one place to another. And it gives them a sense of being, and the mind and all the psychic existence for them is simply just hallucinations. Yeah, that's how they explain. So as devotees, we have to see it philosophically. Otherwise, we will also lament. Yeah. The point is, with reason, we can understand that actually the soul does not die. So we have to understand that very nicely. So Prabhupada advises us that we should not lament. You can read his books, you can read his, or hear his conversations, hear his lectures. A quick show of hands, how many of you read daily? Ooh, look at that. You know? How many of you listen to his class daily? Ooh, only a few. So this is a very bad symptom, of our movement. Still, we lament bitterly when a great personality like Srila Prabhupada leaves. We will lament because it's normal to lament when someone dear leaves us. So that's okay, yeah. Srila Prabhupada's appearance or disappearance, we understand is in a sense, disappearance is in a sense as important as his appearance. It's very important for us to understand. Because if he had not appeared, then we wouldn't have this movement, this spiritual understanding and so on. And without his departure, we might not be able to understand how to die, how to experience, or how to tackle death itself when it's time for us to face that. So therefore, we can understand it's a very, very important moment for each of us. Death. It's a very important moment. Prabhupada says that's the final lesson. Therefore, interestingly, there are videos of Srila Prabhupada, you'll see in the YouTube and so on, if you are curious enough, that Srila Prabhupada actually allowed or permitted that his death is recorded, actually, or documented, so that we can see how he physically leaves his body. So my own spiritual master, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he explains how at that time when they were filming Prabhupada's departure, he tried to stop them. He said no, because he felt this was very unusual, right? Who would want to document such thing? And so he thought it was very inappropriate from the way he felt. So when he told them to stop, Prabhupada told him, stop, let them film. So Srila Prabhupada wanted it documented. He wanted people to see how he was leaving his body, so that we can actually understand how we should all be leaving our body also. So it was Srila Prabhupada's purpose to teach us. And so he didn't just die quickly, right, bang, and disappear. He prolonged, He took his time from the moment he went to Rishikesh, and then at Rishikesh he told the devotees who were taking care of him, say, I think I will die soon. So what they did is, take me back to Vrindavan. So they drove the whole day from Rishikesh all the way to Vrindavan. And then when he came to Vrindavan, he told everyone that, what better place to die than in Vrindavan? The best of all places, So, it is also said that Srila Prabhupada did not immediately give in to the idea of leaving the body. He made some effort to survive, he wanted to show, because there are those who would anyway have suggested to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, why don't you, take this medicine, do that, and so on. So therefore Srila Prabhupada wanted to show that I've done all that. And so Prabhupada was doing it, and then in the end he was like, I did everything and I have to still leave this body. So some people also suggested to Srila Prabhupada, why don't you go on dialysis, because one of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada left, the reason was he had, his kidneys were failing, and so they were suggesting that he had the illness of the kidneys, and there were build-up of uric acid in his blood, so therefore there was a reason they were suggesting. But then what kind of life is that, right? Dialysis means you have to do it 2 or 3 times a week, and for the rest of your existence in that kind of body. So Prabhupada said no. He said, I'm not interested. In fact, he told his disciples, and one of his godbrothers passed away with all the best medical facilities that was available at that time, and they spent so much money. And so Prabhupada said, don't let me die in that kind of condition. I don't want to die. I don't want any tubes sticking in me when I die like that. I don't want to die. So don't let me die with tubes stuck in my body. And at that time, there was a famous Swami who passed away, and his disciples all spent over $300,000 just to keep him alive, and he didn't live for long, and they spent over $300,000 to keep him alive. So what happens in the end? His disciples had to run around to try and raise the money, And generally, if you are stuck with a debt, then you start cursing the persons, right? So, but Srila Prabhupada didn't create any kind of debt for anyone, not at all. It's amazing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. For all of us, we have incurred unlimited debts towards Srila Prabhupada. Yeah? What he has given us, the spiritual life, everything we need to know how to live in this world, he has given us. So Srila Prabhupada did not incur any single debt. My Guru Maharaj was saying, not a bit of debt also. But to the degree that services he took, even sometimes you may consider some of the services to be beyond the call of duty, right? Sometimes you do go out of your way to do it. But serving a spiritual master, one cannot say it is beyond the call of duty. So there were many who were very physically close to Srila Prabhupada during his final pastime, and they were serving him so nicely. So just so there is no debt, Srila Prabhupada called all of them, those servants, and then he started to give them money for services rendered. And they were like, no Prabhupada, this is, we are not doing it for that. And then Srila Prabhupada say, no, you must accept. He says, this is not in payment. I'm not paying you guys for the services rendered. He said, I want to give you as dakshin for what you have served me like that. So it was very, very amazing. And he said that this is actually a gift from me to all of you. So then the disciples accepted it. I remember also one time when I had to travel and then I didn't have any money, so my Guru Maharaj said, okay, I'll give you this much money, but you have to return it back. So then after 9 months later I returned it and he said, what's this? I said, I owe you. Then he said, really? So anyway, he told another person, he's a Brahmin, because he truthfully brought the money back. So I heard it later on, much later on. Srila Prabhupada used to go to many home programs, and then sometimes he, in the homes of devotees, wealthy householders and so on, and they used to have servants, and Srila Prabhupada would stay there, and these servants would come and do nice service, personal service. Sometimes his own disciples can't get it, but these servants would get it, and so then every time Srila Prabhupada would leave such houses or homes, he would call these servants and then he'll give them 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 4 rupees, according to their status within that household. And it would seem that he's paying for the services rendered. And in this case, it was a different thing. Because they were not serving out of love for Srila Prabhupada, because they were already servants in the house. But because Srila Prabhupada was such an exalted and wonderful person, he wanted to extend that and reach out to each and every one of them and wanted to establish a relationship with them that at least it evokes some kind of desire for them to serve devotees of Vaishnavas. So it was an amazing way. Srila Prabhupada was so expert, he was so expert. One time Bhavana Swami explains how that one of the disciples, Hayagriva Prabhu, you all may have heard, he's passed on, that he wanted Hayagriva Prabhu to become the temple president of New Vrindavan. So then Hayagriva Prabhu heard that, and so he's a scholar, he's a PhD, and he's very expert in writing and so on. And then he started to make a list of reasons why he should not become the temple president of New Vrindavan. So he got everything, he armed himself with all that information, and then Srila Prabhupada called him, and then he went to, he had all his, he thought, I have all my astras, all the weapons. I'll be ready to face Prabhupada. So Prabhupada smiled at him and said, I have a service for you. Then he said, yes Prabhupada, what is it? He was like ready to attack. Srila Prabhupada said, I want you to take sannyas. And then immediately he said, Prabhupada, no, I can't take sannyas, I can't control my senses. Srila Prabhupada, you mean you can't follow my instructions? I will take care of you. That's okay, Yeah. And then he said, Prabhupada, what about my wife? He said, don't worry about wife. I will take care of your wife also. So Hayagriva kept saying different things, and Prabhupada said, don't worry, don't worry. Then finally he said, Prabhupada, I can't do this. Then Prabhupada looked at him for a while. You know, there's one thing, if you don't want to take sannyas, you can become a TP of New Vrindavan. And immediately Hayagriva said, yes, Prabhupada, I'll be Temple President. So he's so expert. Srila Prabhupada is very expert. So it was like that, yeah. Yeah, of course, none of his disciples, right, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, wanted Srila Prabhupada to pay them, because that's not what they did. All of them, they out of so much love for Srila Prabhupada, they wanted to serve him. But in this case, Srila Prabhupada said to his disciples that he wanted to give them as a gift, right. Prabhupada also said to his disciples that he will not die. He will live in his instructions, yeah, books, including books, yeah. So how many of you are reading his books? See? So you're not following his instructions. Yeah. How many of you are listening to his classes? Yeah. You have to, it's not just reading sometimes, you have to hear, there's a difference there, huh? Vacha. When you hear the vachaka, it also affects your heart in a different way. So it's very important. So, you should understand these are not some kind of sound vibrations coming from the ether, right? They're not just ink on paper, right? We think like that. But actually instructions are something that resonates with all of Srila Prabhupada's followers, right? We do it because it resonates in our hearts. That's why we do it. We are not forced. None of us here are forced at gunpoint. Anyone? Okay, yeah. So, and every one of us, every member of Krishna conscious movement, for now up to 10,000 years, yeah, at least we hear that number, we must all follow Srila Prabhupada's teachings, Srila Prabhupada properly, and we should be able to teach to others about Srila Prabhupada. They should know who Srila Prabhupada is, otherwise we are not really doing it. Now, you can say you can read, but reading is optional to hearing actually. You must hear Srila Prabhupada. The more you hear, you'll find the more there will be transformations in your body, in your heart. So it's therefore very important to hear Srila Prabhupada. At least once a day, you should hear. And then not only that, I think you should recognize Srila Prabhupada's position. He's the preeminent Acharya, the Siksha Guru, preeminent Siksha Guru in our movement. There's so many devotees can give instruction, but everything must be aligned with Srila Prabhupada's desires. And so that's very important. And so we have to see his position as foremost. And aside from taking responsibility, we have to know what Srila Prabhupada wanted. Right? What was his desire? His desire was to save the world. Yeah. Even though sometimes it may appear that we ourselves are struggling, right? We are all struggling. But still, we should always try to help others with this knowledge and understanding of spirituality as Srila Prabhupada gave. So Srila Prabhupada was not, personally he was not himself satisfied with sitting in Vrindavan and chanting. Right? He came to the West. He came because his spiritual master told him what to do. He left the holiest of places to come to the West to fulfill those instructions. His Guru Maharaj's desire, so he wanted to do that. So essentially he was willing to sacrifice everything. He gave up everything. So his departure is very, very important lesson for all of us actually. When he was about to leave, many of our movement, leaders in our movement, they came to see him at the time and ask him, what are your last orders, last instructions? And then I remember my Guru Maharaj said, he didn't want to ask. He said, if I ask him what the last final instruction, it means my relationship is finished with him. He felt very strongly. He said, I didn't want to ask him those things. Because he said in his heart, he felt that spiritual master never departs. The spiritual master is always there. So he didn't feel, he said he always felt Srila Prabhupada's presence. So that's the mood the disciples should have of the Guru. That the Guru is always present in their life, always guiding them, always, it's like a lighthouse. When the ships are going in a foggy ocean, they could see the lighthouse. So there's always that focus is there. So it is very important. This is the training the disciple is supposed to be learning. The instructions of the Guru, the desires of the Guru. Srila Prabhupada himself said he never for a moment felt that he was separated from his own spiritual master. He said that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was always with him. And so in the same way, each and every one of us, Srila Prabhupada showed himself, and so we also should follow in that footstep. We should always have that understanding. It's very important. It is one of the most important training, how to always have that connection with our spiritual master in our hearts. Very important. Otherwise, we may not be making much advancement. Right? We will not understand the desire of the spiritual master, and therefore we cannot make advancement like that. Yeah. So, most important of all aspects in Krishna consciousness is to know and learn the spiritual master's desires. What is his faith, devotion, meditation, all this must be understood clearly. Yeah. It is the inspiration for all of us, for everything. So whatever we do, why are we doing it, right? So the Guru is there. Just like we go on the altar to dress the deities, we do it on behalf of our spiritual master. Because he's Sakshat Daridvena Samasta Shastre. It's not different. He's a person, he's the Sevaka Godhead. So he teaches us how to be able to serve Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada's departure, his Leela or his activity at that time was certainly meant to deepen at that time the disciples' attachment. And sometimes they say the lesson Srila Prabhupada gave by leaving is the lesson that he could only give by leaving. Yeah, that's the last lesson. So it's a very interesting. And what was that lesson? Service in separation. Yeah. Of course, when Srila Prabhupada used to go from one city to another city, he used to spend some time, and when he's away, the disciples will feel some separation. So there is some separation. But really, when he is gone, then there's a difference. There's a whole deep thing that happens in the disciple. Once we learn how to internalize. We look into our hearts, we internalize those instructions very carefully. And then we understand our relationship and our connection. So then the instructions are, in another sense we say, the Vani, the instructions, become very strong, or it becomes multiplied over many times. It congeals in our heart, and it transforms us from being self-centered to more Krishna-centered or devotee-centered. Becomes very deep, becomes very valuable, many times over. So it's a sound form which is the Vani, and the physical form is the Vapu. Of the two, Srila Prabhupada said the sound form is most valuable. somebody got attacked. That's the sound. So that sound is so valuable. So parents would think, what's wrong? They'll run out and see. Yeah. So in that sense, by his physical Vapu form, which is gone, the Srila Prabhupada forced all of his disciples to take shelter of his Vani, take association of his instructions. You can say Vani, Sangha, which is most important. What did Prabhupada say? How did he say it? Why did he say it? To whom did he say it? What's the emphasis? How long should we follow this and that and so on? Discuss about it and so on. Now, out of sentiment, you could be attached to the physical form of the spiritual master, but at the same time, you may not understand many things. You may be, oh, my guru this, my guru that, but what did your guru say? I don't know, but he was so nice, right? People talk like that, yeah. It's important that we understand what as I mentioned again, the desire and the will of the spiritual master. It's so important. But if one actually listens attentively, you will get that instruction. You will understand this is what the instruction is. Similarly, when you're reading properly, clearly, you know what the information is. But if you're just glancing through, then you won't get the gist of it. Oftentimes you read and someone reads the same thing and then you're thinking, I never read that. Yeah. And then we question, where did you read that? Where did you? I didn't see. Do you have a different edition? Right? Right? It's always like that. But yeah. Focus. Read carefully and focus carefully. So then there would be no question of what was my guru's desire. You will know. You hear his classes often. You hear Prabhupada's. The Srila Prabhupada's desire is his guru's desire. Right? So then similarly, our desire is our guru's desire, which is in line, aligned with Srila Prabhupada's desire, which is aligned with his spiritual master's desire. Of course, there may be slight tweaks or emphasis here and there, but the desire is consistent. And that is very important. Yeah. And when you look at most people, or when you look at Srila Prabhupada and see what he has done over the 12 years or more or less that he was present, you find that he's not an ordinary person. He's not. He can't be an ordinary person. He was not ordinary. We can then, in hindsight, we can all say, yeah, he was sent by Krishna, so he could do that, But you look at Srila Prabhupada, look at what he went through. Krishna took away everything he had, right? Sri Krishna took away his business, took him away from his wife, his family. And also, at one point, Srila Prabhupada had a translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Remember? You read in the Lilamrita? Someone stole it. And Srila Prabhupada had to rewrite again. He didn't give up. Most of us would say, heck with it, right? The hell with it. Or like the fox, right? We're just trying to get the grapes. It's sour. So don't have to do this anymore. No, Srila Prabhupada had to rewrite the translations and the purports again. It's amazing. He didn't give up. He was practically stripped of everything. And he used to quote that verse, right, from the Bhagavatam. What is that? 10:88? Yeah. Yasyanugranami harisye taddanam shanai. Yeah, the Lord will take away everything. Prabhupada quoted that many times. One time, Prabhupada is walking. He used to walk. Srila Srila Prabhupada would write back to Godhead magazines because he was trying to preach to the Westerners. So he wrote that in Vrindavan, then he would edit it. Then he'll go all the way. He wouldn't even take bus or anything. He walks all the way to Delhi. And then he got it printed. And then he'll walk back again. So one time while he was doing that, a cow came and gored him. And he was in the middle of the street with a, injury. He laid down, he cried to Krishna. Then he chanted that verse. He said, because he had a realization that Krishna is taking everything from me. Sri Krishna says, when I really, really like someone, I'll take everything, all material things for them. Yeah. So who wants to be liked by Krishna? Ooh, see, I can see people putting out their hand. Ooh. You better like it. Because sometimes you may not want to like Krishna so much, but Krishna likes you too much, and then you'll take it. You can't stop that. And Srila Prabhupada, everything Krishna took, he had nothing. He's so little, he's so little. He even was walking with nothing, right? But he was always a Vaishnava. He always, Krishna will take care of me. He was all alone, elderly person. So far out personality. And then he decided one day when he prepared himself for many years, right? He prepared in Vrindavan. He focused, he prayed to Rupa Goswami, he prayed to the acharyas. He said, please, he used to cry in Srivas Anga and ask the predecessor acharyas, Lord Mahaprabhu, and all of them, he used to cry so incessantly, asking them to empower him, allow me. And so finally, when he got the passage to India, he felt so victorious, he was so happy. And Murari, Sumati Murari, right? Yeah, Murarji, yeah. And then she gave him the pass on the Jaladuta to America with nothing. No money at all. And what he got in the journey, he got 2 heart attacks. Right? Most of us will say, we'll go to Vrindavan and retire. After 1 disease or 2 diseases, pack up, let's go back. There's no insurance there, no medical. Prabhupada didn't turn around. He didn't stop anywhere from Jaladuta. He said no. So if you look at everything, Krishna took away everything. Again, his health, wealth, his opulence, his business, his family, his friendship, his society that he grew up in, everything. But what happened after that? Krishna gave him unlimited opulence. So many opulence. Yeah. So much so, Srila Prabhupada once commented that where is a rich man in India who can claim to have 108 houses, with servants willing to surrender 24/7, and each place I have 10 vehicles. Of course, he was talking about his 108 temples that he established all over the world, and he was talking about his not servants, he's talking about his surrendered disciples, like that. The point is, it's not that Srila Prabhupada took the temples as his own. He never thought like that. Rather, he made the point to show people how much Krishna actually gave. So much Krishna has given him. So when people used to ask him, how did you get all the wealth? Where are you getting it? We see you are not working, right? People say that, you have no job. I remember when I used to go on Harinam, people would shout at us, go get a job! Right? Go get a job! So, but at that time I was working, yeah. But they look at people who are performing spiritual life as being lazy and not wanting to do work and so on. So they ask us, Prabhupada, we don't see you work, so you don't have a job. So where's all the money coming from? And Srila Prabhupada would simply say, Krishna supplies, Krishna gives us, yeah. So we see during the early days the difficulties Srila Prabhupada went just to show us the example that Krishna takes care of his devotees. Yeah. So he wants us to inculcate and grow this faith nicely with the proper appreciation of the sadhana practices, the devotional things that we do in our life. They are all meant to please Krishna and at the same time to evoke a higher consciousness in all of us so that we can take full shelter. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to show that. He took the difficulties, but he knew if he did it in the right way, then there's an example for others to follow. And so for all of us also, we have to think about that. We cannot live the life that we are leading at this moment, right? We have to think what will happen to us in 10 years, in 20 years, at the time of death. How are we going to negotiate death? You know, how are we going to face it? So it's not that Srila Prabhupada needed those things that Krishna took away. He didn't need that to surrender, but it's just that he's showing us how to surrender actually. He's teaching us that even under such trying circumstances, he never gave up on Krishna. Right? So we should also ask ourselves, what's my situation? Would I give up on Krishna? I think mostly every day we give up on Krishna. Right? So it's about time we have to realign our understanding and practices also. And the other thing is, when Srila Prabhupada got so much opulences, so many temples, properties and so on, he was not bewildered. It never bewildered him. There's a pastime when during a Vyasa Puja, Srila Prabhupada, right, was been given. So one devotee came, Srila Prabhupada, I want to give you this gift. So Prabhupada took that and so like this, one devotee gave him a very expensive Rolex watch. Srila Prabhupada, oh thank you. So he took his old watch and gave to his servant and he wore the Rolex watch. After a few more disciples came, another devotee came and again, Prabhupada, I bought you a watch. And it was a very cheap watch. Srila Prabhupada said, thank you very much. He took out the Rolex watch and gave to his servant and he said, you take this. And he wore the cheap watch, you know. So it's not that he needed those things, it's not that he is attached to those things. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada wasn't like that. Yeah. He didn't need any of these things. But he showed us how one can become attached to Krishna, not attached to the ordinary things. Yeah. So he's not an ordinary person, Srila Prabhupada. So once in India, in Vrindavan, during his disappearance, Srila Prabhupada's a very learned sadhu from the local area, a big Shastri. He knew everything. So he spoke about Srila Prabhupada and he spoke very eloquently about Srila Prabhupada. So one of the things he said is, don't think your spiritual master is an ordinary person. He was so emphatic in that point. Don't think, he's an ordinary person, because he's not, he said. He said, Krishna only sends someone who is close to him, close to Krishna, close to him. He must be very dear and very near to Krishna. So that he sent him to this material world, to this very special job. So he also said Krishna selected one who is very intimate associate of Krishna. Otherwise, if you think carefully, it's not possible to do this kind of preaching. It's not possible. It's a very special person. It's not actually possible if you think about it. So this is so true of Srila Prabhupada. He just didn't spread any type of consciousness. What did he spread? He spread, Krishna consciousness. That is why it is not possible by anyone. It has to be someone who's very intimate and close to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Krishna. And not only that, he spread Krishna consciousness, he spread Vrindavan consciousness. He spread Mayapur consciousness. He spread Mahaprabhu consciousness. And that's the desire. Therefore, if you look carefully, his mission was very specific. He came, he wanted to get rid of all the things. Srila Prabhupada actually summarizes his mission in his pranam mantra. And what was that pranam mantra? What is it? Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimadi Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini. He's empowered by Gaura. And then Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashyatya Satarini. So Nirvishesha Sunya. He came to kick this out. This impersonalism and voidism. So we can see practically in this, you can see his mission was very specific. And he gave that pranam mantra. So we should understand, we should also clearly know what his desire was. Now if you look carefully, you will understand very practically that without Krishna consciousness, there is not going to be religion in this world anymore. If you think carefully, right? Mostly people are not even worshipping properly anymore. It's all, commercialized religion out there. It's all commercial. We can practically see that. Srila Prabhupada is also said, according to some research, devotees who have researched carefully, that he is a Senapati Bhakta, which means he is specifically empowered by Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya himself says, my Senapati Bhakta will come and spread the holy name. Senapati means general. Senapati Bhakta means he is among the Bhaktas, he is like the general, he is really powerful. So therefore Krishna, Mahaprabhu wanted him and he came. So and there's the verse, right, Pritiviti Ache Yata Nagaradi Grama. So every town and village, this holy name will be spread. So Srila Prabhupada was the person who was doing that. He's so powerful, and he could do it. And Mahaprabhu wanted it, and Srila Prabhupada did it. Okay, no one else could have done it. He planted so many devotional seeds in the hearts of so many people. Even new people, even those who read books, have never seen Prabhupada, they get inspired. And some even say they have dreams of Prabhupada. How is that possible, right? But that's how it is. This is the empowerment of a very, very powerful personality. Right? If you look at religion nowadays in the hands of the scientists or in the lay public, if you go and ask them all, you will come back with the same answer. The faith of religion is very dismal. It's gone. Practically nobody is practicing. Religion has plummeted into irreligion mostly. Everywhere, so strong. Sense gratification so strong. There's very little sense or understanding of religion nowadays. Centuries ago, the philosophers were very much focused on the possibility of an eternal and ideal principle. They would say that. But nowadays, there may be some focus on God, but nowadays it's all gone. Mostly people look at what life is, how important my life is, what I can get, and trying to sort of, or they are trying to get, what is that saying? He who dies with the most toys wins. Yeah, so that's the philosophy nowadays, you know. And it's infiltrating on every level. If you look carefully, around the world you travel, it's everywhere. There's no thought about God, even amongst persons who claim to be religious, right? We see that, and people have become so impersonal, right? You can call any place on the phone, right? And you'll say, press 1, press 2, press 3, right? That's all you get. And then they will throw you off, and then you have to dial again. It's like a lottery sometimes. So it's a sad situation. Finally, our indebtedness to Srila Prabhupada will be demonstrated by how far we participate in this mission of this movement. It's very important. Are we prepared to sacrifice for Srila Prabhupada's dream or his desire? Are we prepared to align it with our own desire? If we are, then that is the definition of Krishna consciousness. If not, if we don't dovetail our desires to Krishna's, which is desires of Srila Prabhupada, then how do we learn how to do it? How do we know how to surrender? So the spiritual master helps us surrender to the desires of the Lord Krishna and the acharyas. It is not that we are